This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
Welcome to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I'm Nick.
And we're sad.
Sad's probably an understatement.
I mean, yeah, it's tough to have a season end like that. It sucks, but it happened. For those that haven't caught on and listened to us before they look at the results online, which I'm sure there's nobody, the Griffins did lose Game 5 in Milwaukee tonight, 2-0, ending what was undoubtedly an incredible season for the Griffins, but it does end in the form of a Troy Grosnick shutout, which is not the way I would have wrote this up at the beginning of this round. But, you know, I guess Milwaukee, the best thing that probably could have happened to them was Askarov getting hurt. Not that you wish someone was going to get hurt, but this worked out pretty well for them because he came out guns blazing tonight. So before we dive into it too far, just a quick recap of the scoring. Obviously, Milwaukee scored the only 2 goals in the game. Zach LaRoe got his 8th of the playoffs, a shorthanded goal in the first period to start things off from Cal O'Reilly. And then Ufko, which that's a name, got his first of the playoffs in the third period, 3 minutes in, with Delgazio and Afanasiev assisting on that one, and those would be the only 2 goals. Milwaukee would also outshoot Grand Rapids 36-30 in this one. Grand Rapids would go 0 for 5 on the power play. Milwaukee went 0 for 6. Sebastian Cossa stopped 34 of 36 in what was a sensational outing, putting the team on his back, trying to do everything he possibly could to get them to the next round. But the team in front of him couldn't get it done. And like we said, Troy Grosnick, a perfect 30 for 30 shutout there. Yeah, it's hard to have positivity and energy when you talk about this game. But let's get through the game recap, and then we'll say a few positive things, I promise. So I just want to get your initial thoughts that this is done. Like, what was your thoughts on just the game? We're not doing a season, not doing a series recap, just this game.
Just this game. I mean, they came out in the first, and I mean, they outshot 14-6. I mean, it sucked that we gave up a shorty to Zach LaRue of all freaking people. That just really set me off. At this point, I think I'd have to double check, but I saw some conversation that we've had more shorthanded goals against us than power play goals in the series. Like, just absolute unacceptable. I mean, that's what this game came down to, was special teams. I know you said 0 for 5?
0 for 5 on the power play.
And then Milwaukee went 0 for 6. I mean, they had their chances to be able to do it. I thought Coast played well. I thought Coast played really well. We just couldn't buy a goal. Literally, like, we had chances. I just kept clipping chance, another chance, and we just could not get anything back through them. And I said in the beginning, like, there was some chat on Discord. They're like, Grosnick's in. And I'm like, don't sleep on this guy. He's a good goaltender. And I like through the second, I started pulling stats from when we played them in the regular season. And I'm like, we have outshot them before with Grosnick in net, and Grosnick still beat us. It was a 2-1 overtime win. But I'm like, I kind of see where this is headed. And Milwaukee came out and they fired in the second and fired in the third. But I just didn't really feel like momentum was really one way or another. I just felt this was a very close. It was a very close game, right? I mean,
yeah.
And the 5-on-3s, that was definitely a case, like definitely a cause for concern. I mean, we just gave up too many penalties to let this team stay in it, you know, and keep the lead. So it just sucks. Like, and on the fan side, it sucks. On the podcaster side, like, we get a small break. Like,
yeah, right. We don't. We still have another team in. Unfortunately, fortunately, we still have another team in. So the break's not there yet for us, there, buddy. We got another game to worry about even tomorrow night, which is always fun for us because once the Griffins are done, it allows us to put a big old spotlight on Toledo. Not that we already don't do that enough, but it shifts our focus a little bit for a couple weeks and makes it fun. But this does suck as a fan. As a fan, it sucks, but at the same time, there's a lot to be proud of with this team. And I want to get to that later, though, because there's a couple key points you talked about with the game. like you said, momentum. And it felt like the team could never establish momentum, whether it was every time we started having a positive swing in our direction, a media timeout followed, or, Troy Grosnick takes a shot to the mask and acts like his mask is broken, skates to the bench and looks at his trainer and goes, no, it's fine, and laughs about it. Like, the mind games were definitely there on the Troy Grosnick side of things. He knew how to play that to a T. And I mean, to his credit, the Griffins were taking headshots left and right at him. I think he took 4 or 5 shots off the mask in this game. So it's like they wanted to take his head off. But,
He fault him either, like taking the headshots. It's like you kind of get in the goalie's head of like, okay, the next one's coming, like got to duck, got to move, and hopefully something like that goes in, or you get a crazy Hawkins like goal where it hits off the goalie head and into the net. So like, you can't fault him for
no, God, no.
There, but it just sucks that he kept killing the time, the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that attempt in Grand Rapids too with the Askarov situation. Whatever happened there, we saw that. But the other thing with this game, with the momentum side of things, is we couldn't establish it because we spent too much time in the damn box. Like, giving Milwaukee 6 power plays, multiple 5-on-3s, again, is irresponsible on our side. But I mean, this is just like Wednesday's game all over again, where the ref didn't swallow the whistle. He held it tight to his lips the entire game. He was calling everything he possibly could. This was the tightest called playoff game I think I've ever seen. And it really sucks that that's the kind of impact it had on the game, because you expect playoff hockey just to kind of let them go and run around and be crazy. Do I think that would have changed the outcome? No, not really. I think Milwaukee was going to walk away with this one based on how they played and how Grosnick was playing. But again, that momentum can change a lot of things. But the calls in this one, like, again, we've spent enough time bitching about refs this season. I'm not going to do too much more of it here, but it was questionable on both ends. Milwaukee took a ton of penalties too, giving us 5 opportunities in the power play that we couldn't capitalize on. That's just unacceptable. Again, you thought the power play might have figured it out after the game the other night, and where they get 2 power play goals, and tonight they let up a shorty and fail to convert 5 times. Like, you can't do that. We said the power play would be the storyline of the playoffs for the Griffins. And I think when we do our series recap and even the season recap, the power play will be a good chunk of discussion in both those episodes, because it was bad. But on the positive side, though, going 6 for 6 on the penalty kill in a game like this, obviously, like we said, Sebastian Cossa played out of his mind. He was the best penalty killer on the ice, which you need your goalie to be the best penalty killer. But the guys in front of him were also just warriors. Wyatt Newpower eating pucks like they're his favorite food tonight. Josiah Didier ending up back in the lineup tonight, blocking shots left and right, truly leaving it all out there, redeeming himself for a really rough last game that he had out there. And when you're talking about this game, you're missing 2 massive pieces on the back end, and Simon Edvinsson and Radim Šimić, both injured for this game. Both couldn't go. Tim Gettinger was in this game, but he was a game time decision. Like, they weren't 100%. The cards just did not fall in the Griffins' favor in this one. The Griffins were 0-3 in the series with Simon Edvinsson out of the lineup. Like, it just tells you the impact that guy makes in this team. So that part really hurts. It all stings overall. But like we said, the penalty kill and Coase, man, just an absolutely fantastic game from them. And again, Wyatt Newpower, I hope his ankles are okay after this game. My God.
Yeah, that was nuts to watch him take that hit or take that puck and then get back up, shake it off, and it still continue with the play. So I was like, dang, like that looked like it hurt, and he hasn't. He's not calloused from the season at all. So huge on Wyatt. And I mean, the big thing too, like you said, the defenseman Radim was out and Simon was out, and that's a huge play, because that didn't allow us to go that 11-7 that we typically are able to go and use the matchups to our advantage. And that kind of tilted that, the games we won, I believe all the games we won, we were 11-7. And tonight, I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with Vero. Like, we could have maybe put him in for that 7th defenseman to still keep that rotation, but cards just weren't in his favor for these playoffs, for this Dan Watson lineup. So it's a story to keep an eye on for this offseason, I think.
I think you're right. And I mean, again, the boys didn't give up. Like, they played the game very well. Milwaukee just turned it on in the middle of the second period there, and they never looked back. I mean, some guys were doing above and beyond. Like, we talked about the guys blocking shots, and you also look at the guys that were shooting the puck. Aston Reese had 4 shots on goal tonight. Les Perrance had 3. Brogan Rafferty had 5 shots on goal. Carter Mazur had 5 shots on goal. Marco Casper had 4. And then Lambeau and Shine came together for 2 each as well there. Like, the boys were shooting it. One thing, though, like, we saw it on Friday. Bergie shooting the puck was just lethal, right? Tonight, he was pass first everything. Like, he was trying to pass first every route he went. He only had 1 shot on goal tonight. They were zoning in on him very quickly, not giving him the same time and space he had on Friday. I wish he would have shot it a little more. That's maybe one takeaway. That's my one negative, like, player call out, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I think you would like to have seen him shoot more. I think you're right, though. They just keyed in on him. He lit him up for 2 official goals.
Yeah.
They're gonna do their best to shut him down and make sure they get the matchup, especially being at home. The one guy I would like to call out is Taro. Taro actually played a decent game tonight.
It was better. It wasn't great, but it was better.
It was better. Setting up Lesby a couple times in the zone, trying to get that going. He would have had one if his stick didn't break, which led to a power play on our end. But yeah, Taro, I thought he played a little bit better, but I don't know. I can't. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Oh, Brogan. One thing with Brogan, somebody called it out. He's like, I don't want to see him back next season.
Okay, I saw that comment on that clip, and that wasn't Brogan Rafferty that got burned there. It was Albert Johansson.
I didn't even comment back on that because I was just like, why are you calling out one of our better defensemen?
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, I've only watched 2 games this season, so. Like, you're gonna put a play, you're gonna judge that on the entire season, that one play.
And it was the wrong player.
No, it was the right player.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. It was a quick clip, and Twitter, you know how Twitter is with the short clips. Sometimes it makes them really pixelated and it's hard to see. But yeah, it wasn't Raf on that. Like, it's Albert Johansson. And again, it's LaRue getting around Albert Johansson. LaRue is significantly faster than Albert Johansson. He's a power forward with a ton of skill. He's a piss baby that makes us all mad, but at the same time, he's an incredibly skilled forward that can shoot the puck very well. And you give him a breakaway like that, he's going to make you pay for it 9 times out of 10. And he did it multiple times in the series. So it's crazy there. Yeah, not having the normal lineup tonight, I think, is going to be the thing that did us in. I mean, I glance over at my other screen here and look at the lineup again, just seeing like the top line, Hiroshi, Zarnik, Luff, and you're like, okay. And the second line, you saw Mazur, Casper, and Bergie back together, and you're like, okay, that's worked well in the past. You see Shine, Lesperance, and Aston Reese together, and you're like, that's the fun line, that's the energy line. Here we go. And then you got Elmer and Lombardi and Gettinger, and you're like, Gettinger, last time he was with those two, didn't really seem to mesh well, so this should be interesting. The defensive side of things,
he just didn't look good since he's came back from injury. Gettinger.
He's not healthy. He's not 100%. Clearly, if he was game time decision tonight, he has not been healthy this entire time. So I don't know. The defensive side of things too, the pairings of Johansson and Newpower, that was the much better decision than going Johansson and Didier like they did Wednesday. Rafferty and Tuomisto is a good pairing. I liked that. It brought a lot of offensive upside. And then Didier and Vollinder together. They've been together all season. It made sense. They played well. So the lineup was definitely very different in this game than we've seen in the playoffs so far. And that just comes with injuries. Like, what can you do? Like Bob said, it was game time decision for Gettinger between Gettinger and Hunter Johannes. Like, that could have been the changeup tonight. So I feel like if I'm Getz and I'm not 100%, I know it's game 5. It's a must win situation, but like, was he a liability? I don't know. I don't think he was a liability, but I don't know. We've said it a couple times in this series. If he's not good, he's not good to go. Like, sit him down. Hunter came in and was just an animal when he played that one game. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter was electric throughout. So the games that he did take advantage of. Gettinger, I just didn't feel like he really brought anything to it. It just, I don't know. This just sucks. It just absolutely sucks. That's all I like. Just the way we end this.
Yeah, it sucks. Again, it's always going to be what if, who coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? At the end of the day, let's try to put a positive spin on this, right? We've been negative enough, because I can't be negative on a microphone for this long. I just sound like a sad person, and I am. But at the same time, this season was an incredible success. no matter which way you spin it. This team went from being one of the worst teams in the American Hockey League last year, comes in with a rookie head coach, a rookie assistant coach, a rookie starting goaltender, a team with 13 Red Wings prospects on it, all young, one of the youngest teams in AHL history. And they come out and do what they did this year. They go up against some of the best teams in the league. They end up finishing second in the division. They go into the playoffs, and they're faced with the two of the four hottest teams in the AHL right off the bat. Because Rockford was on an absolute tear at the end of the season, and Milwaukee obviously was on a tear all season. And that was who you had to face. And you got past one, and you took the other one the full 5 games. You got to sit back. I know the players, it's going to sting for a while. This one's going to sting. But at the same time, like, there's a hell of a lot to be proud of when it comes to this season. And this season was a blast for me. This is the most fun Griffin season I've watched and covered, obviously, for a long time. We've only covered hockey for a year and a half, and it was miserable the first season. But like, just the turnaround right there, there's so many good things to say. And our season recap this year is going to be so much more fun than last year, because last year was just miserable. This was fun.
Last season we were going into the off season with a lot of questions of like, are we going back to season tickets or not? Who is our coach? So big props to Waddy. It was a big, come in, implement the style, implement all the roster changeover was huge throughout, like from what we started with last season to what we started with the beginning of the season. So, that recap we'll come out with probably, I don't know if it's going to be this week or next. Yeah, it would be able to recharge a little bit. And so,
yeah,
it just sucks. Like like I said earlier in the episode, like as a fan side, it sucks. This is not a good way to end it. But like you said, positives. You saw a huge growth with a lot of players, a lot of the rookies, a lot of people probably are going to be up with the Wings next season. So big shout outs, big way to set the standard, right? This is where the floor is, right? I never want to be any lower than this moving forward, right? Like, we should expect
to
be
here again next
season. Nope, it's not.
We should expect to be here. You're right. We should expect to be here again next season. Like, the team is built for that now.
Not feeling like this, but like we should be.
We should expect to be making the playoffs and poised for a deep run and all that stuff. And again, not only winning a pro hockey game is one of the hardest things to do, winning pro hockey games in the playoffs is one of the hardest things to do. Winning playoff rounds in pro hockey is one of the hardest things to do. Playoff hockey is arguably the hardest time frame of any sport that exists. It is a gauntlet that you go through. And in the AHL, it's even weirder because you go through stretches where you're playing a bunch of games and you're not playing games for 10 days. And then you play a bunch of games. Like, the mental side of playoff hockey is insanely challenging. And to do what these guys did this year, it's incredible. Like, they rose up against some incredible adversity. And remember, we said it last episode, if the last game we were going to see in person this season was the game we saw on Friday night, the boys sent us off with one hell of a party, because that was arguably one of the best hockey games I've ever been to in my life. And that's stuff like that that's going to stick with me this year. When we go into the offseason and talk about stuff, it's not going to be, holy shit, what did Ben Simon just do as we talk about the offseason stuff? It's going to be stuff like that I'm going to remember. I'm not going to have to grasp on one comeback win against the Chicago Wolves like I had to last season. I can grasp on to tons of comeback crazy wins, tons of sensational performances by a rookie goaltender, like 18 game point streaks. Like, there's so much good to talk about, and I can't wait to dive into it. I'm sure the season recap will be a part 1, part 2, part 3 series, honestly. But yeah, I did want to end the episode on a more positive note than just talking about what happened tonight, because there is a lot of positive here.
You know how I feel? I feel just like when the Red Wings got eliminated from the playoffs. Like, we were on such a big high, like every game, and those comeback wins and getting close, and like, then when they, whatever the team was that messed it all up for us.
Washington and Philadelphia.
when Philly pulled the goalie, that's how I feel now and getting scored on. Like that's the low that I feel. I hope everybody else.
If I feel the exact same way, that means which I pretty much do. You're right. Like you feel low, but then in the back of your mind, you go, God, next year's going to be so much fun. Like,
yeah.
It's just what I keep coming back to each time is like, you think about Detroit. Detroit's going to be such a fun team next year. Grand Rapids is going to be a wild team. Like we're looking at almost a guarantee that Nate Danielson's going to be in Grand Rapids next year. I think we lose maybe a Carter Mazer or a Simon Ed. We're losing Simon Edmondson. Like, let's be real. He's played his last game in a Griffins uniform, but there's so much more positive still coming from the prospect pool behind these kids too, that is just going to come in, and the growth that you're going to see in some of these guys in the offseason, like what Marco Casper is going to go do in the offseason to get better, bigger, stronger, what Amadeus Lombardi is going to go do. If Amo comes back bigger and stronger, he's going to terrorize this league. Like there's so much fun coming up, but the moments like this are the parts that suck.
I just need a hug.
I can't hug you through a screen, buddy. I'm sorry.
I think that's how most people feel right now too. So, yeah, I mean, we take this, we chew on it for a little bit, we'll digest it, we'll have a recap, and then I'll feel better. I'll feel better later. But this sucks. This is a terrible way to lose.
Yeah, shutout hurts.
Exactly.
Shutout hurts.
Scoring the game-winning goal on a shorty is the worst feeling that could have happened.
And no one like drove him into the ground at the end of the game. Out of respect. Obviously, that's not the right thing to do, but God, it would have been great. Actually, well, Didier did try to drive somebody through the ice at some point tonight. God, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was fun.
Complete body slam. And that wasn't, out of all things that were called tonight, that wasn't called. That wasn't called.
I didn't want to put it out in the Twitter sphere. Maybe I will now.
Yeah, you could post it out there. It doesn't matter. Season's over.
Season's over. So
that hurts to say. Any other thoughts?
This is probably one of our shorter episodes because it's just.
That's kind of to be expected. Again, there's negatives to talk about. I just don't want to go into each and every single one. Like I don't want to. It's a playoff game when we lost. It was winner take all. There was gonna be one or two recordings tonight. One that sounded like this, or one where we were to the moon, ready to take on Coachella in the next round. Like, whatever happened. You can't really drag the guys that might have underperformed in certain areas or whatever in this specific time frame. Let it stew for a little bit. Make sure we have the right frame of mind on it, and then we'll go in on them. No, I'm kidding.
I'll be ready.
No. Again, there's improvements all over the place that need to happen, but there's still so much to be proud of for the team.
Yeah, it was a good season. It was a good final home game. I mean, last year's home game, people were crying in the stands for different reasons, So
yeah,
it was good to leave on a happy note.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the biggest thing for both you and me here is just how much fun this was to cover as a podcast this year. Not just like obviously the action on the ice, but the fans and the growth that we've seen through this season. We saw growth in the team. We saw growth in ourselves and what we do here, and the people we get to talk to and meet and interact with. It's just been such a fun one. So, I mean, I think I speak for both of us here. I say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you, everyone. Yeah. Thank you to the Griffins for making it fun. Thank you to all the fans for making this even more fun. This is one that we won't forget for a long time.
It was a fantastic year around. I mean, just meeting the fans, meeting the people that listen, the comments, everything has been fantastic. And I'm excited for big things for next year, which I'm already got the wheels spinning. So it gives us some time to recharge and get back out there. So I'm excited. I'm excited for next season.
Yeah. Same here. With that, man, anything else you want to say to the people before we head into who knows what our schedule looks like? We won't say what our upload schedule is going to be like because we don't know. Obviously, our Toledo focus will still be there. Depending on the results of tomorrow's game, you might see a Toledo episode come out earlier this week than Thursday. Hopefully, it's a positive one. So we'll see what happens.
And if it's not, what are we doing?
No, we'll see. With that, man, I think we should wrap this one up. Thank you to everybody for tuning in to this episode and all of the post-game recaps we did over these playoffs for the Griffins. This was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, and I think everybody else agrees that they were fun to listen to because they were usually unhinged as hell. But thank you again to everybody. Shout out to our sponsor, Everything Hockey. Make sure you head over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST. Save $3 off your order. Make sure you head over to the social pages. Keep yourself up to date with all the off-season stuff, too. We'll be updating as much as we catch wind of stuff. We'll make sure it's out there. So make sure you're following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those places. We'll keep fun posts going, too, for everybody. Maybe some giveaways in the off-season. You never know. But with that, everybody, have a fantastic week. Go Griffins. Go Walleye. And we will talk to y'all soon.
Go Fish. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.